Welcome to our interview series on Technology Impact Assessment, otherwise known as TIA. My name is Katina Michael. I'm a visiting scientist at Arizona State University and also a fellow at the Social Cyber Institute. This interview is part of the Australia-India Joint Impact Assessment of Critical Technologies for Peace and Stability project, funded by the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade and also our Indian counterparts. And it's been ongoing since November 2024 and will complete its cycle in November 2025. In this series, we are focusing on technology impact assessment for peace and stability. And today it gives me great pleasure to have Ms. Jannatul Moreom with us from Blended Learning International. She is the South Asia advisor and in charge of education and strategic partnerships at Blended Learning International. She leads engagement across South Asia with a strong focus on education, student pathways, and institutional collaboration. She has over a decade of legal and academic experience, and she supports the development of strategic partnerships and culturally responsive recruitment practices. Her work ensures the delivery of accessible, high-quality educational opportunities tailored to the region's needs. And it's such an honor to have you as part of our interview process. Welcome, Jannatul.
Thank you, Ms. Katina Michael. Thank you for giving me a chance, and thank you to the viewers as well.
Yes, we're getting some good feedback coming from the very first interviews we're hosting, and they're very informative. Everyone's coming from a different background. Not everyone does technology impact assessment, but in some way, we've come together as diverse stakeholders and we're sharing thoughts and ideas about how we might go forward with technology impact assessment, specifically for peace and stability. That's the key here, and something that we think is new internationally, but I'm awed by your background, both in academic and legal experience. Can you tell us more about your studies?
Thank you. Yes, I started with management, business administration, my first bachelor. And later I found that while doing business administration bachelor, or study, I found that there is something coming up in my mind. What about the corporate social responsibility (CSR)? Because I'm from Bangladesh, which is located in the Southeast Asia, and many people um, literally are um, disadvantaged, and they have the lack of many logistic supports which we even cannot imagine. Even if I could not pursue my study abroad, I might not have the idea that how the changes or how the differences can make from global north to global south. And while studying, I felt I also have been an activist to conserve our environment, especially Sundarbans, which is the largest mangrove forest. And while doing this, I felt like if I want to work for people more, then how can I pursue it in my personal or in my practical experience? I mean, which is very much related uh, practically, not only something like academic. So I enhanced some knowledge while working for CEDAR and ILA. These are two, um, I mean, natural calamities which severely affected our south part of Bangladesh. Many people, livestock, and crops flashed away. So while working, then I decided that maybe a legal background can help me to get in touch with people. And from that essence, I started to pursue my law bachelor. And I, of course, I um, never tell that background, the management background, did not participate or did not help me, because but I would strongly focus on that part, because if I did not pursue management bachelor, I might not be able to understand that how the corporate world um, just mobilizing the political and the global arena. So, but I'm very enthusiastic after becoming a law student, and I have been practicing since 2011 in the lower court of Bangladesh. And I was an apprentice 2 years. Then I started by myself after getting enrolled from the uh, enrollment board, Bangladesh Bar Council, and gradually I became a lawyer in the High Court Division of Supreme Court of Bangladesh. And this way, I am just I understood that yes, now I can literally work with people like Rana Plaza. We collapse maybe many people. I mean, it attract international international parties because it was a huge structural killing happened in 2014. So I was actively participated in that as a lawyer as well as an activist. I was working to negotiate for compensation, as well as we asked what would be the consequence who left who lost their lives, and they are gone, but what would be the consequence after losing them to the family, because they become more vulnerable once they lose their only earning person. In many cases they were only earning person for their whole family, maybe 5 or 6 members, or sometimes it is 11 members as well. So and I also was working in an international climate litigation. I was very fortunate to assist there as a volunteer since 2009, where we see that NICO, one Canadian gas exploration company, came to our country, and they were of course there was a contract, but when all the gas blowed out for their negligence, actually there was a case filed by Bangladeshi organization Bapex and Petrobangla. So I was, as a being a volunteer for a long term experience, and my enthusiasm just led me to that way. And I saw that how this critical technology, I would say, because how the fossil fuel explorers are using our or developing states soil, and unquestionably they can get away when the whole gas field can blowed away, but there was no question, and we actually finally we lost the case, and it also helped me to understand that it is not some solution that we can do by ourselves. There must be some global harmony, peace, as well as stability is needed, and I'd rather say that it's always a good thing if we can make an emancipation from global north to global south, or vice versa, global south to global north. So from that background, I also learned, being a lawyer, that how the technology is using, especially in corona pandemic. I had a chance, because that is the first time in Bangladesh we started via online internet how to proceed the legal procedure via internet, or uh, and some apps were very much became very much familiar that time, and it helped us to connect globally, I would say, because from corona pandemic we first saw that how from a village to a city, it just spread it um, within one night, I would say. It felt something like that. Connection, human connection, how it became like familiar through virtual life. We started to understand. We started to understand that how the legal procedure also can move forward. And had some experience in money laundering case where we see that how the technological, um, if it is not correctly um, handled, then how it can just hamper, or it can harm the national economy. I saw that as well. Especially, I would like to talk about the Swift network based one of the biggest money heist, I would say, from our central bank, Bangladesh Bank, in 2016, which is also highly known that 1 billion US dollar just hacked from our central bank. There were 35 attempts happened. Five were successful and 30 were unsuccessful. We had that time 32 billion US dollars in our central bank. And in a poor income country, for a poor income country, how it affects, actually, I saw that as a being a Bangladeshi national citizen. So they all actually are interconnected. I started to feel, and when I saw that Wikipedia or WikiLeaks, how they were also, because they were almost like the from the same time zone, like 10 years. We were watching that how WikiLeaks were talking about and revealed so many international very secret information, which were really important to know. And I was very enthusiastic or encouraged about one part, especially while watching that for Bangladesh Liberation War, how the CIA US central agents were working. I was just very enthusiastic to learn that how the international relations actually are working. So, and when I, of course, that is something that technological, even if I'm not a technology expert, but I can tell that my life also are uh, deeply interconnected through all the process. So I cannot move forward without acknowledging this and without embracing this. And I believe that this initiative, I really appreciate this initiative that Tia is doing. And I also had a chance to participate in some webinars of Australia India joint partnership, so strategic partnership. So I become more like enthusiastic now, or more engaging. I feel it like it. I feel more engaged in this sector right now, and I started to learn more. And I believe that this would help all of us, actually, from Bangladesh to Australia to India, or whatever we say that. And we have to take it for our own empowerment. We have to take the chance for just take the control of our own sovereignty, if we tell that way, because this is closely connected with our sovereignty right now. We can see that how the cyber attacks are happening from here to there, and these wars are not only nuclear, or not only very much like what we call war weapon. I think that cyber also becomes a war weapon these days. How it affects people mind, culture, and how it in some sense, how it directly involves geopolitics. I think that in that sense, it is becoming more vibrant these days.
That's such a rich introduction from you, and I'm embarrassed to say that I hadn't heard of the cyber attack on the central bank in Bangladesh. And if I've understood correctly, $1 billion was wiped off its accounts. How dare anyone do that to a country that is trying so hard to get on its feet despite so many setbacks. And many of my friends are Bangladeshis. both in Australia and the UK. Many of them doctors, dentists, lawyers, very successful people. Many people have cared for me in hospitals, even starting out as nurses and dreaming to become doctors. But there is so much energy, so much hope in the global south, and it all comes under hard work. I also want to say for you, this is risky work that you're doing. Forgive me for being forthright, and it reminds me of two or three other women that I know who are lawyers in the field of human trafficking and also in the field of unpaid work. Uh, let's call it indentured servitude. And you're one of these to me from hearing you on the human rights side, and really your work has been about technological accidents. If we wanted to summarize, what are these? Uh, Much of it delves in the area of human rights. And really, for those seeking a career, I had met somebody recently, an academic whose child did law, practiced law for 10 years or so in one of those glitzy firms, and then decided to go into human rights law in a smaller boutique firm. But of course, as we know, human rights lawyers and the pay scale there, as opposed to those glitzy firms, is quite different. It's hard work, but it's meaningful work. And I'm not surprised that through your management studies you chose, corporate social responsibility and perhaps other things to do with ethics, social, and governance matters. Um, it doesn't surprise me at all. And yet again, it's women who are contributing to these very difficult spaces. Uh, with perhaps a lot of under-resource occurring in different investigations and different legal battles and evidence hearings and so forth. But the impact of that work uh, is huge, especially when the matter may not be a win for those you are supporting, but may at least get the matter on the map so that there is global attention brought to the matter, even if there isn't a successful case, dependent on the situation. So for me, to meet you and to hear that you're also an educator with this rich background, and the importance of the background is this: if you come into work with respect to technology impact assessment, it requires us to wear several different hats, and we need to understand the role of industry. We need to understand uh, the role of regulation. We need to understand citizens and communities and people who are often victims in accidents or technological controversies or conflicts. They're all these C words. Um, and of course, accidents when they happen, and often uh, I'm going to be very forthright. Nobody wants to touch these cases because uh, they can break you pretty much, if I summate that. And organizations generally have endless amounts of money to spend on litigation in defense of their own corporate mission and vision and position. But this in an all-inclusive way, and I want to get to the point of what can the global north learn from the global south. And already the interviews in the technology impact assessment space have shown me, when I've interviewed people in Africa, for example, or I have acquaintances in Brazil, or I know people within Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, and so forth. I'm constantly, and Nepal, I shouldn't forget Nepal, I'm constantly encouraged that perhaps despite the matter around money and investment from international organizations that I won't name, that there is an earnest hope for processes to be followed in the right way. And I think the global north has much to learn from the global south. Of course, vice versa. Uh, we can learn from one another, and it's not us and them or you and what's important here is the intent. I look at ideas around public interest technology. I look at what is in the public interest, and everything that you've spoken about so far is in the public interest, whether it's been climate examples, uh, money with respect to the whole of nation, not just the pockets of some corporations, whether it's been about families losing loved ones who were the sole breadwinner, all of this is about people and the public. And I want to say, short of calling your work human rights impact assessment, I'm sure a lot of assessment goes into your human rights work, but how do you see the tie emerging between your day job that you've just described and this thing we're calling technology assessment, which has been here for decades and decades? We haven't invented it in the group, but we're talking about joint technology impact assessment, and we've added that word impact in there for the reasons that you've identified um, in a very, um, you know, uh, imbued within your examples. You didn't use the word, uh, but it is about impact, right? So how have you seen by listening in the webinars and also the workshops, how have you understood how your tie in your work is to this thing that is known as technology impact assessment?
Thank you for asking. If I understand correctly, then I would say that at first I was thinking that how we can work when there is a huge gap already, cultural understanding, we have a huge gap. And there is always a sense of equity should be applicable, I believe. Because when we are from global south, I would represent myself as a person from global south, and I always think that without equity, sense of equity, if we cannot establish that sense, we cannot move forward. Because when we talk about technology impact assessment, or if we want to re-emphasize on human rights impact assessment, what would we see that from the global north, how we are talking about military uh, or something like I would say that some words that we use or that are very much like applicable, or yes, very much applicable for global north. They are not even relevant for global south in many senses. Because if I want to mention my country perspective, that we have one ministry, post telecommunication and information technology, and we also have one very strong like ICT, we call that information uh, technology. But I am just wondering that when we are thinking all the time about how to just survive and um, how to move forward or progress with our human resources, we are not thinking about war or military or those things. We are very much concerned about our health issues. We are concerned about our jobs or employment market. And we are concerned about environment issues. That is a big issue for us, because the more repeated extreme events we are facing, we do not have that much capacity to fill up those gaps. I mean, the lack of funding from global north to global south. So we are becoming poorer day by day, because there are so many natural calamities we cannot protect ourselves, and we are losing of course, I would say that it is irreparable loss, because those lives, we would never be able to recover those memories once we lose them. So this is something that is very irrelevant, or I would say that they are not hard from the global north, this scenario. So what is the so when I was just joining those sessions, webinars, I heard that there are two voices becoming stronger, one from global north, one for global south. But what helped me to understand more, and it makes me really hopeful that now these two voices are coming together. So we are sharing each other. We understand that, okay, this part is needed from global north, and this part is needed for global south. If I take it as as an example that global warming is not kind of regional or local issue. This is completely a very much highly likely, of course, global issue. This is not regional, it cannot be local. So when the ozone layer, there is a hole, there are big holes, we have heard, it naturally affects all of us. So how could we make a balance? There must be some equilibrium. There should be some point where we both parties can strongly hold each other, strongly just move forward together. And I believe that if my understanding is reaches that point, then I would always say that I think there should be some necessity to understand that why nuclears are needed for wars, instead of taking the power as a renewable resources. Or why are we thinking about critical earth materials or rare earth? Why are we using what purpose we should use that? Is it only for a monetary reason? Is it only for competition between uh, global north, global south? Or I would say that China, which name is kind of like not that much pronounced in many cases, but actually they are becoming something like giant in clean technology development market. So how should we um, assess this situation when we clearly see that the global I I would not say that this is global south. I would say that this can be tell something that where the renewable energies are emerging nowadays. We see that there are so many gas pipelines are going through Central Asia to North Africa, and we can see that there is a Belt and Road Initiative by China, led by China, India, Russia. So, and BRICS and BASICs, those countries also are making some initiatives. So, and on the other hand, we can see that there are G7 nations, and there are OECD and uh, other like Just Energy Transition Partnership. It is a very uh, newly adopted partnership, which I am very enthusiastic about, which made me enthusiastic because I saw that there is a cooperation from global north to global south and vice versa, because there are some investments are coming for renewables. So when there is renewables, that is completely connected with the technology, because there is an urgent need to enhance critical technologies, and the whole infrastructure is very much likely that a new infrastructure is needed. So we need, and which needs to be like natural, I mean which needs to be more like less carbon producing, because we are thinking about um, reducing the carbon emission uh, below 1.5 degrees Celsius as per Paris goal, and we all are after that. So the whole world is after that. So in that sense, I would always be enthusiastic if there are more collaboration we can see uh, on technological side, because uh, if we see that how the technology advances, actually through that way we see that how the responsibility also are um, taken by so many organizations, social organizations, and so many other sectors. uh, for example, we can say that the NASA director once upon a time, Mr. James Hansen, how he um, revealed or disclosed to the whole world that how the climate change is happening, and this is for anthropogenic gases coming from our, I mean, human activities, it 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 actually changed the whole scenario very soon, because that declaration people needed to know. So this is something that he was a scientist as well as, I feel like, by heart he is an activist. Of course, he felt the severity, he felt uh, the impact, how much huge the impact can be on our planet. Because this is not only about human race, this is not the this planet, of course, we are the dominant part of this world, we are thinking, but how much dominant we are, we cannot surpass the natural calamities, we cannot avoid that. And we all have to care for each other. So if we don't care for each other, then I do not think that there can be a solution. And I felt that vibe from the webinars. Whoever talks about geopolitics or militarization, or a collaboration, or so many things like health sectors, business sectors, all the things we are trying for a cooperation, global cooperation. I felt that vibe from that, and thank you for arranging that thing, that joint
Thank you,
assessment.
Jannatul. I will continue to sing the praises of the team. I feel the same thing when I come either as a participant or a speaker, and also I listen to everyone who has come on. We've been quite overwhelmed by the participation, but also the voices, and that's what I take away from what you've said. In fact, I almost want to point to the importance of humility from the global north and the global south in coming together and cooperating. I think humility enables this cooperation to happen. And dare I use the word joint optimization, because it is a term that's used in socio-technical theory and for something completely different. But I almost feel that that's what we're doing. We're jointly optimizing in particular contexts. And something that you've alluded to, I mean, my husband always says to me, Katina, it rains on everyone, not just on some people. And this is true in many different facets of life. Uh, if the ozone layer is depleting, as it was rapidly depleting some years ago and known, particularly in the Australian context, uh, it is going to hurt everybody, not just some people. Uh, and for me, where you began in that second point on equity and the gap, I mean, even conducting these interviews has been humbling. Um, and listening to voices from different parts of the world, we assume everyone's got high speed broadband. We assume that everyone has electricity in their house. We make assumptions that are not real. And some of the recordings will show people in the dark giving interview responses to me. And the other thing is what we're preoccupied with in the global south and the global north. And we often talk about first world problems. And that word first is not a great word either. But first world problems, oh, my internet is down, or I don't have enough high speed today. Why is it slow, and making demands when the truth is 75% of the world's population are trying to find food to eat and gain access to clean drinking water. Not just, as has been stated, drinkable water. Drinkable water is not clean drinking water. It's just drinkable. Um, and I don't want to go on with stats about disease, mortality rates in many nations, uh, and many things that we know are happening all too well. But as you said, we wake up with different aims. Potentially, in the global north, we're concerned about how much money will come home, not the fact that money will come home to cover basic fundamental costs. And this reorients what we think about technology. I mean, in the global north, we think technology and we think meta bands, we think metaverse. Technology for someone in the global south would be what, Janital? Give me an example of what technology, if I say the word technology in Bangladesh, what does that mean to a Bangladeshi?
Thank you for asking that because it always amazes me that how small demand can be raised by global South people. If someone born in that place, only then they can understand that they don't need much. They don't want much. They just want to survive, and they just want to connect. So, from that point of view, that people do not need that much, that they just want to connect people as a human being and
Mm,
with more humanity. So, global South people, in which way they are connected, this is completely different perspective in global North. After coming in the developed country at first in the UK and now in the Australia, I can see that how we connect through technology. This is completely different. Like I can tell that we don't often use cell phone to call each other if we are in the same house,
mm,
which is very different in the developed country. We often text, but in developing states or emerging economic countries, we are calling each other when we are living in the same place. Or I would say that during corona pandemic, we saw that this is massive. Like technology was something like impacted, or I'm not sorry, not impacted, I mean technology became like some very good thing for us, and we started to use it like as our own organ, because without technology we cannot connect with my mother or father or my sister or my children, something like that. And for the first time in corona pandemic in Bangladesh, I saw that how people embrace technology. So
mm-hmm,
they embrace technology to survive. They embrace technology to to uh, just make some job opportunities, to progress their human resources, to I would say that connect with people. They just and get information, and they all are not that much, I would say that that cannot be told all the time that they are very good all the time, because there are all the time like Frankenstein, like Mary
yes,
Shelley's Frankenstein. There is always, we would see. And but almost all the people took the advantage of technology since corona pandemic. Before that, it was used only for like apps, something like social media,
yes,
especially Facebook and WhatsApp was highly used that time. And but later we see that how people are engaging with health technologies as well, and people were asking that okay, during corona pandemic people cannot breathe, so we need those technologies, those health machines which can help them breathing. So so this way people understood more about technology, and they become, after that they become more familiar with the technology world, I would say. And this world now, um, also we see that even before corona we did not see that the Gen Zs, who are called Gen Zs, they were also, of course they understood better all the time than the earlier people, the millennium, that how to use technology. But during that period, actually, it changed the whole world. I felt it that way. That corona pandemic changed the whole world in some sense, that the technology is become like our part of our life. It is not something that we can avoid anymore, though
mm-hmm,
we were using it outside, or sometimes of course we all have televisions or uh, laptops, um, or desktop. However, I would say that after corona pandemic, it changed. Uh, drastically, which the world never would realize. So I think that in the but in comparison with that, I think that global north knew all the technologies, but the feelings that we are losing our own people, the feelings were the same. It is something, and I always am hopeful about connecting each other. This is not something that we are departing, and we can, if we are apart from each other, we are just increasing the gap between each
Yes.
other or among each other. We cannot move forward. So I believe that global south people actually use technology to help themselves, to become emerging in their economies, as well as to help like their health issues and education as well. Because now and there is a very interesting thing I saw, that after corona pandemic it happened. Before that it was something like optional using technology, but now it is very much common, that hybrid education, this is very common, and this is not something that people don't know now. In global south everyone knows now the what is the hybrid mode of education, or hybrid mode of counseling. I also
Yes.
did virtual counseling that time, and I saw that health counseling also happened through virtual I mean the technological devices. So I think that this way global south responded.
It's fascinating on the role of COVID. I think it affected everybody, and because of that, everyone had to use particular types of technology and access different apps and use their mobile and many other ways for a national security matter. If I was to say to you, does Bangladesh have a list of critical emerging technologies that it names, or what kinds of technologies are on its radar in terms at a national level, at a strategic level? Do we get that kind of information from Bangladesh? Does it create such a list? Or it's more about uh, a group of technologies or modern technologies? How does Bangladesh, if it's something that's in your purview, understand technology? Is it just the shiny gadgets, the mobile phones, or is there something more?
Of course, something more, because Bangladeshi people are very enthusiastic, and they are hardworking, and they are intelligent, and
Hmm.
they want to connect globally, and they know what is the effect of climate change. We have nuclear power plants, which is rare in global south, especially as like a country of Bangladesh, we never thought that we could start. But with the help of Russia, we could start it. But at the same time, if we see that how we understood the blockchains, like we are using all the time ATM booths, and people are using like internet and their mobile phones. Of course, they are using mobile phones, but this is kind of blockchains, because they are always transactioning via internet, and uh, and there are other understanding, like for renewables, because we understood this is a global need right now, that we have to move forward from a phase out of fossil fuels to renewables, embracing renewables. So we also are engaging so many activities which are in this time, these are becoming like and we have a sense of smart cities as well, because we have IT tech park in our country, which is very interesting to me, because so many young people, as well as there are middle-aged people also are nowadays, like they are mingling each other for their job purpose, for their livelihood purpose, but as well as it is it also interest makes them interested to learn, to understand, because they understand that if they want to connect the whole world, or other part of the world, then they have to understand this better in a different way. So the more we are moving forward, I mean, in the time span, I would say
Yes.
that the more we understand that how much necessary it is to build a very strong
Mm.
understanding um, about the critical technology. Though we have lack of funding, though we have lack of logistic support, and we have uh, lack of other things like if we say that what are the activities of Petrobangla and Papex who are um, exploring oil and gas, because Bangladesh has that capacity and they have those natural resources. So of course it needs, and we have so many meritorious students who are studying in polytechnic institutes, which are vocational, which are a course of vocational courses. And they also are and there are 162 currently, if I'm not wrong, 62 or 63 institutions which are governmental, 39, and the rest of them are private.
Hmm.
So people are becoming interested to understand what is called technology, and and if they want to forward with their economy, then there is no other way.
A great response. Tell us now how technology impact assessment makes sense to you, given the backdrop of what you've given us with the critical emerging tech, the fact that the way Bangladesh will enter the global market is by continuing to innovate, or despite the issues with funding and resourcing. There are educational institutions trying to raise capacity and capacity build within organizations. But why now is technology impact assessment important from your eyes?
I think that this is very important in many senses. Like if um, if the information is not reaching us, I mean, access to information means access to justice. I believe that way, because say for example that if there is a very big natural calamities is coming, which we could now with the help of satellite, we understand, we can predict the weather forecast, and we can help each other, uh, as well as we are aware about our national sovereignty and security as well. Because uh, in some sense, that if our neighboring country is very much becomes highly influential, it might in some sense make us insecure, thinking that we don't have that much capacity, so how our information are uh, passing, or how the other parties are trespassing into our security system, because
Yes.
these all are very much connected right now. And if we don't have that capacity to detect or to protect ourselves or to detect threats, then it can be very much fatal for our economy, for our sovereignty, for our people. And that way people are understanding, and TIA can help this, because when people will understand that this is their right to know, this is their right to get the information, this is something that sharing information um, can help even protect their lives in many senses, then and in that sense I think that many global south actually are far behind um, in respect of uh, in respect of developed nations, because we don't know how to use the technology very well still, and we have the lack of knowledge about technology. So we are trying to overcome this situation, but we still have lack. So if we understand that this information can be shared, that what are actually happening. I can tell something like, in our country there are some some information, I mean some devices used by the military, I mean our army, as well as our police. So they can hear all the citizens voices, or what we are using um, via mobile or other technologies, technical devices. So I am just wondering that if we don't understand that part, that this is privacy is a right, I mean right to privacy. This is very like human rights, this is a very important human rights, then of course we have to join the TIA, because a TIA is making a global I mean initiate globally. So when there is a global initiation, if Bangladesh is not joining that, then what will happen? We actually do not understand that how the global actually moves forward. Because now I was always wondering, and in webinar also I asked, maybe one day, that if India and Australia joint partnership um, is a successful one, then how can be the other neighboring countries can be benefited by that? So TIA will help in that way as well, because it might be joint partnership, but there can be global hub as well. I mean, some hubs who can be a hub and can support the neighboring nations who does not have that capacity. So this way maybe we can we can be connected each other. um, Currently it might be very small amount of
Mhm.
hubs, but it will literally will generate from one to other. And I think that it is happening. I can feel that, because this is not only about belief, this is also about very much like visible right now. Yeah, as I can see that how the solar panel, I mean Southeast Asia's largest panel is in Indonesia right now. So if I didn't know about it, maybe I would not be encouraged. So this way also, this information, is how the robots are doing surgery in uh,
Yes.
a human body. So I think that this is something that we can share each other. But the other way, I would say that maybe in this way we also can protest against war, against just poverty, and those things which are not welcomed in human mind, by human mind, or but we are somehow victimized by those things. So if we are practicing more the positive things, positive thoughts, I believe that it also will, because as per the third law of Newton, we know that every action has the same opposite, equal, and opposite reaction. So if we practice more the positive things, to build a cooperation based on humanity, and respect human rights, um, then I think that it will become it will become more prominent day by day, that we can protest the negative sides of what is happening currently, the wars and those things.
Jannatul, that's very beautiful. I go back to the term trusted partners here, and building trust and cooperation between several countries. Right now, in this pilot, it's Australia and India, and that's what we call a bilateral or joint impact assessment in terms of the technology impact assessment. But definitely, we are thinking broader towards multilateral conversations, as we've seen, and we tend to have had them in the realm of policing in the past. There's a mutual connection between nation states, so there's counterparts in each country, um, and really these matters to do with privacy or trust or control or the sharing of data uh, have to be shared between parties that would naturally otherwise communicate about these matters anyway. But if we're trying to build capacity and we're trying to build knowledge, this is a natural way to go by sharing. Um, Also, technologies have a physical lifetime, and if they do, they're put to rest. But if technologies, perhaps one country can afford the latest technology, but then what happens to the ones that are still useful, but perhaps may not be the latest and greatest? Can they still be maintained? Can they be given away to others that require these because they don't have anything? And this is a very different mindset to the one that we're currently stuck in, which really is generally about war and conflict, unfortunately, rather than peace and stability. And that positivity spin that you're talking about, where knowledge sharing occurs naturally. And I do think there is there's two ways to go about this, if we just want to be black and white for a moment. One is a government instituted push where governments are speaking to one another, and at that level, perhaps introducing a technology impact assessment office or a group of people or several resources that may not have been there before to do technology impact assessment.
Thank you. I think that global south are believe in so many myths, like they are imagine that there are some good things, there are some bad things. Of course, the whole world, if we see that the fairy tales. But one more thing I see that like Bangladeshi people always are very, I would say that they are very um, interested to learn and learn new things, and they always like to embrace, which is, I believe, that a positive thing for building trust. Because when someone moves forward, I mean, with maybe one hand, then the other part, of course, also maybe comes with something, because comes up with something, because um, uh, from our side, from the global cooperation, it is something that it is already understood by the people. But the thing is that they don't have the uh, logistic understanding, logistic. I mean, they don't have the full knowledge. They are not capable to have grip on that issue. Then they understand that this is their need, but they don't have the capacity, they don't have the capability, and this can be challenging. How to overcome this challenging situation? It should be actually. I think that it should be considered for the first. I mean, at first step from the other
Hmm.
global initiative, because Bangladesh is a country just with a 5 decades, right? Only 54 years. But people have already shown their capacity to adopt so many things, and they are still developing and there are so many countries in
Hmm.
comparison to Bangladesh that their age, I mean, their I mean, like as a state, their age is much older than Bangladesh, but
Yes.
Bangladesh has forwarded in I would say that in an extensive scale, in many senses,
Yes.
that how we are managing that 180 million
Yes.
people in this small state with this economy.
Mm.
This is, of course, with the power of people, and this could be possible because people are embracing the new things, and how we are participating in global arena, like we all know about how Bangladesh is participating in UN Peace Commission. I believe that everyone knows about it. So and it is also acknowledged that we are in many global corporations already. So I believe that that technology also will come the same way, that if the whole world or the other parties wants to understand what Bangladesh, how Bangladesh can move forward, maybe then we can move forward because we are interested, and this is not some word. This is already proved that Bangladeshi people can move forward, and they have already. They are. They are just spreading all over the world in a different arena. They are proving themselves from health to business to legal, many area, and science sector, as scientific sector as well. So I would say that from Bangladesh perspective, we have um, a lack of knowledge still, but if we could
Mm.
cover that gap, maybe only then it would be a very successful one. Otherwise, the distrust or mistrust, it will stay, because until people cannot understand one thing, and what people fear actually, what they don't understand, why we are afraid of
Yes.
dark, because we cannot see anything. So when
Yes.
these are
Mm.
possible to understand that okay, this is technology and this actually will help us rather than it harm us, then they
Yes.
would also move forward to those global cooperations. And I think that these things are not very far. Maybe if we talk about 50 to 100 years, this is something like human lifespan. But if we think a broader sense, then maybe it is possible. And I'm an optimistic person, so I believe that it is possible all the time.
That's lovely. I do too, by the way, and it will change the dynamics totally within the globe. I think. I hope one day we don't have to say global south and global north, and we can have that level of equity within ourselves and within our hearts. And I think one of the things that is important that you indirectly alluded to was this a notion of intercultural communication. You know, uh, there are many in the world that believe uh, in inequities, uh, in uh, that all voices are not equal. And I think it begins with, as you said, uh, learning more about the dark to enter the light. But that can only happen if we start to have dialogue, very fundamental dialogue. Um, and I was wondering what you think about intercultural communication, whether there's awareness at the moment, uh, or there needs to be something that triggers more about diverse voices, whether they're from the global north or global south, or whether we're talking about gender specificity, or whether we're talking about age. Uh, what has to happen there? Is it just intercultural, or it's all the different kinds of um, differences and diversities that we should be overcoming? What is slowing down this process, do you think, between nation states? What are the
There,
challenges?
there are many challenges, but we can focus now because they are very much, I mean, vividly present. Like for gender issue, if we talk about it, then actually Muslim majority.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 90%, 85% to 90% in Bangladesh.
Yes.
This is an issue for us. And also, we are taking load from, I mean, like we are giving shelter to Rohingyas. So it is also a tension for Bangladesh because Bangladesh is not capable to take this load because we already have our own difficulties,
Mm-hmm.
economic and other poverty. And at that time, when we have to take other country or other nations' load, this is something making us more vulnerable these days. And this is also causing ecological or environmental degradation as well because how this large population we are taking in our country, this is something of course we have to look for humanity, but the same at the same time if we think about the conflicts how it is moving forward, like people from Rohingya to Bangladeshi, we already have some conflicts arising. We can see that. And these are also news. I mean, there are some valid ground to say that. So
Yes.
I think that we have to face that challenge. And on the other hand, how our geostrategical point, Bangladesh is very lucrative in some sense because of our Bay of Bengal, but because our geostrategical position with the Bay of Bengal. This is such a small country, but a very big sea. Connection with sea, and we have the sovereignty of over the sea. So this is also one reason that how it is encouraging other parties. I mean, so many global um, uh, parties are interested in Bangladesh currently. So this how we can overcome this. Uh, this will actually not that much easy to move forward because there are lack of education. There are some barriers, cultural barriers, though we believe in intercultural thing, but
Yes.
we also are facing those cultural barriers,
Hmm.
especially for women. This is something still an issue, but on the other hand, um, if I want to parse the light, I would say, because the women also are becoming a great power for Bangladesh economy. They are working in the garment industry. They are working as a immigrant worker in many countries, especially in the Middle East. You know that, so they are the earner as well. So I think that this also. I mean, there are some disadvantages, but I would say that there are more advantages than disadvantages if we want to pursue. But um, I think that we have the capacity to earn our own fate or earn our own good, but we still need support because we don't have the capability. And to build that capability, Bangladesh will need that. And once this global cooperation is opening to Bangladesh, I believe that Bangladesh will also move forward with those parties or with those global corporations, because uh, now the world literally becomes like global village. We understand each other, we can meet each other, but those cultural or those regional and how we are born and brought up, these issues are still too big to overcome. Like if we tell about our tribal people, we have 53 tribal nations with us, and those indigenous people also have their own difficulties that the Bangladesh government has to deal with. So how we are um, uh, mingling each other, I think that this will help us also to become resilient. And this resilience and after becoming more resilient and strength, we can go for more global cooperation. And yes, it is still a big issue, that distrust. I always tell that because when there are lack of capabilities, when there are lack of education, and when there are lack of resources for a modern life or for a smart city, whatever we tell, that people cannot move forward with a proper understanding. I think that building that understanding is a necessity, um, urgent necessity from both parties.
I think you're right, and you continue to raise some important points about how we can communicate better within our countries and also between our countries, but the term global village, coined, of course, because of the internet, is something that we should continually look to, given the facilitation of all of these communication methods. I mean, we're communicating over Zoom. We could be anywhere theoretically in the world doing this and still talking about our passionate areas. I wanted to conclude by asking you if there was anything else you wish to add to the conversation on technology impact assessments or technologies or joint TIA, or anything else you think that we haven't covered today or in the webinars or the workshops that is important for the team to take away and communicate with all the stakeholders.
Thank you. I think that everything we both covered. I was just thinking that still I see that the joint partnerships are coming for strong economies countries
Mm,
mostly. What about the poor income countries, or who cannot um, overcome those difficulties by themselves? Is there any kind of initiative we can see for those countries as well? Because yes, when we see, this is really appreciable that how Australia and India are becoming joint partnership for strategic joint partnership over TIA. But if it would, if there would be more initiative for those countries who does not, uh, who still are far behind, but who are willing. And sometimes people do not might not understand that what they are willing to, even because they are not aware about the whole world, about the advancement. So
yes.
I think this is also should be noted.
Crucial,
Oh,
crucial. I spoke to Professor Bob Cook-Deegan, who's a medical doctor at Arizona State University this morning, Australia time, and he noted the importance of a global strategy with regards to what you're talking about, for it to be organic and grassroots led. And it's great if funding exists, but the reality is it likely won't exist. But everybody trying their best where there is some conscious effort towards this area of technology impact assessment. And for some countries, it may well be health impact assessment, or climate impact assessment. And we've seen this terminology. In fact, in our roundtables and in our workshops, we explored, you know, is this really TIA under some other guise, calling it health impact assessment or privacy impact assessment or climate impact assessment? And climate and health seem to be the two areas which surfaced very early with regards to technology impact assessment, at least in the framework, uh, even if it wasn't called technology impact assessment. But truly, I think it's up to individuals to form these organic networks by interventions like ours. This was a funded relationship between Australia and India, but it is really a socio-technical intervention. It's an intervention to see what would happen between these two nation states, but then also what we've seen is people from Africa coming online, people from uh, Bangladesh, from Nepal, from adjoining nations, really not in the purview of the grant directly or the project, but interest, amazing interest from many people who have connections all over the world and have had some very outstanding roles and positions, notable people in the community. Again, not Congress people or not people from Parliament per se, although we've had these guests on as well. It's more been about grassroots change. And I think that's where, encouraged by people like yourself working in the space that you've been working in the legal sector, it starts with small steps. And I think empowerment, knowing that our contributions are making inroads. Often we feel as academics that, what we are doing, will it finish? Somebody asked me at the end of this project in November 2024, 25, forgive me. I hope not. We're looking for more sources of funding. We're looking for more network capability, but it requires everyone to look for funding and then to keep growing this. But it starts somewhere, and we recognize that it has been going now for decades. It's not like this project came along, but we also have been told there seems to be a mini resurgence towards this space. And if we are part of that resurgence, good, because I think then, Jannatul, there will be connections to still is equally detrimental. Covered so much ground, of you to provide this time for us and your insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to you too.